I have a very quick request. It was suggested that I bring this up now. You know, when we have reports from staff, so often I don't know their names, and I was wondering if we could maybe ask staff, they probably have these already made, if they could like travel with them and bring them here when they present. And then that way, you know, we can get to know them better. So I'm just putting that out there as a request. Hopefully they'll be able to do something like that because, you know, we have a lot of different staff and it'll be good to know their names.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. We'll take it up. Anyone else? Mr. Hagan.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm requesting emergency consideration for a resolution to appoint Larry Hook, Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Mr. Hagan, I deny that request. I don't believe it's an emergency to do that. We are under very capable leadership right now, and I feel now is not the time to rush into something that we need. I really feel we need more time to give it consideration. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to override the chair's decision and to classify the resolution as an emergency.
Do I have a second? Dr. Kilgore?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we, you know, just a month ago, we were urged by all quarters to move ahead with selecting the state superintendent. I even had calls from elected officials that said how important it was to get this done last month. I've been even called out of this meeting that I had to take a call out in the hallway from an elected official that said, this has dragged on way too long. You need to get moving and get this done. So, you know, if I take that as a barometer of the urgency, I rate that pretty high and say there is no reason to delay farther when we have a perfectly qualified candidate that we've reviewed over and over again. We've taken a year to do this, and we already don't look good in the public eye. And if we take more time, maybe as much as a half a year or a year, it's going to look even worse. And I worry that we're not even going to be able to attract qualified individuals like we did on the first round. Who's going to want to mess with it when we've already had this thing in an indecisive mode for a year? Mr. Hook got 14 votes to include him as a finalist, and I think it's our responsibility to move ahead as quickly as possible. We're coming up quickly on the middle of summer. Even our next meeting will be at or beyond the middle of summer. School starts shortly after that, and it's not fair to the people of Ohio who are waiting to hear about this leadership that we're supposed to be selecting, for us to just be casual about it and take our time just because it feels better to some of us. So I would like us to seriously consider this as an emergency measure.
Thank you. Dr. Kilgore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was part of the committee looking into our superintendent search and under Mr. Dakin. We we looked at 3 search firms, found none of them able to fulfill our requirements. We had 27 viable candidates from which we vetted the top 3. We, as Mr. Davis pointed out, Mr. Hook got quite a majority vote to include him in the final 2. And I don't know how taking more time, I do not think that will get us to a better candidate than we already have. As I introduced Mr. Hook earlier, he is end of a career superintendent of large and small communities. He has experience in almost every aspect of education, and he knows how education works in Ohio intimately. I also support him to be appointed or hired as our new superintendent expeditiously, because I think that we have used all our resources, really, and we have come up with a very capable candidate. And I encourage my board members to seriously consider him as the new superintendent, thereby making this an emergency vote.
Thank you. My parliamentarian, Mary Remsen, just made note to me that the question is not on Mr. Hook's qualifications right now. The question is on the need for emergency consideration. So I would like to have anyone who would like to speak to the need or against the need for emergency consideration. That's what we're discussing right now. Thank you, Mr. LaRue.
I appreciate Board Member Hagan bringing this forward. I wish we would have taken more time last month. I mean, I'll take the opposite here and say, you know, I don't think there's a rush. It's important that we get this right. And and there were people last month, and I agreed that we rushed it. We shouldn't have. So I'm not sure that, I'm not saying we're rushing it now, but I'm not sure that necessarily fixes, you know. So I mean, I'll say it. I shouldn't have rushed it last month. That's on me.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
And thank you, Madam Vice President. I'm just speaking to speak against the motion. This is not an emergency. We will be okay if we take care of this next month when our president is here and the rest of our board members who are missing hopefully will be here. But I do not consider this an emergency at all, and I don't want us to make a rushed, careless decision.
Thank you. Just to make sure I have everyone down, I have Ms. Newman and then Dr. Collins is in, and then Mr. Toll. Okay, Ms. Newman.
Thank you, Ms. Manchester. I also wanted to speak against the motion. We're missing several personalities and members of our board this month. And one of the things I felt very strongly in this process that the voice of every board member has been heard. We're going to be absent several voices making a decision this month, and I would like to have our full board present to make a decision like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Toll?
Yes, I'm speaking in favor of emergency consideration. I don't believe that, I believe that the board did an outstanding job in vetting the 27 candidates. There were at least 3 people who are qualified to do the job. I felt that there was at least 1 or 2 that we didn't even bring back in. So I think the board did an outstanding job. The situation with DAC, in my opinion, is was kind of out of sorts. I'm still not sure exactly where Steve was, but I think the board did an outstanding job. I think Steve was the best guy. But I think that we're going to take a long time to get a better alternative than the other 2 candidates who we actually brought in. So I would take exception to the idea that this is rushed. We've had these people in 2 times already, and frankly, my concern would be that Both of those individuals are superintendents, and I wouldn't be hanging around to try to figure out what the board's going to do. So I think there is a need to be expeditious in filling this position if we believe that Hook is a qualified guy. I happen to believe that he was qualified, or I wouldn't have voted to bring him back in for a final interview. 14 of us said that he was qualified for the role.
Mr.
Point of
Toll,
order.
Mr. Toll, we're just talking about the
I
need for
understand.
emergency.
Thank you
So
very much.
You can,
I
you can speak
have
to
made-
him later.
I have made
Thank
my
you.
comment. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Davis. I'm sorry, she decided she didn't need to. Okay, Mr.
Yes, I just heard that this board of appointees and elected people representing the whole state of Ohio trying to elect a superintendent for all of the families, schools, and children in Ohio should wait another month because a couple of people are on vacation. Who explains that to the people of Ohio as the reason to not have an emergency measure voted down? It's laughable. There's another fact that I should bring out. I found out recently that Mr. Hook is a finalist for
Point of order.
We're just talking about the need for the emergency consideration, not what Mr. Hook is doing.
This speaks to that. He's a finalist in another district for consideration for superintendent
Okay.
this week. He may not be available after this week. We don't know the answer, but that is a real possibility.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Davis, I apologize. You're right about that. I believe Dr. Miranda, do you have something to say? Are you on the phone?
I am on the phone. I am on the phone as well, this is Diana.
Dr. Miranda, did you want to say something?
I just want to say that I'm not in favor of the motion. I think Dr. Fitz has been doing a great job, and I think we need to take our time to make sure we get this one right.
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Cole that we did our best, and that Steve Jackson was the best candidate, but for the override, I do not think that that's a rush.
Okay. Dr. Collins?
I disagree with the motion for many of the points that have already been made. I just didn't want to, even if we brought in a new person today to catch up versus what Dr. Siddons is going to be able to do to keep us going right now. She's doing a phenomenal job. I don't think there's an emergency, but except to let her do the job.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to overriding the decision to not allow emergency consideration for this motion? Ms. Hill?
Could you restate what you just, is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this motion to override my decision to not allow emergency consideration?
Yes, please.
Okay?
Thank you, Chair Manchester. This is a question for you. How long did it take to get where we are, and how long will it take to get where you think we're going? We've been at this for a very long time. We really look stupid. We couldn't get this done in a year. And we're going to go at it some more? I'm sorry. It reflects very poorly on the board, on the whole board.
Thank you for your opinion. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, Mr. Alsop, yes. So we are voting on the motion to override the decision to not allow emergency consideration. If you vote yes, you are saying you want to override my decision. If you vote no, you are agreeing with my decision to not allow emergency consideration. Does everyone understand?
So,
Okay?
excuse me, so a yes vote means we want it to be an emergency, and a no vote means we don't want it to be an emergency. Thank you, just wanted to clear that up.
Exactly. Anyone else have any? Okay. Mr. Alsop, will you please call the roll?
Davis,
Yes.
Kilgore,
Yes.
La Mancha,
No.
LaRue,
No.
Manchester,
No.
Miller,
No.
Miranda, Newman,
No.
Shea,
Yes.
Toll,
Yes.
McGuire, Bedell,
No.
Collins,
No.
Fessler,
Yes.
Hackett, Hagan,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Johnson, Kern,
No.
seven to 10.
7 to 10, the motion fails. All right.